Please welcome Visual Effects Supervisor Eric Saindon.
I'm so used to seeing this much
I know.
of you.
Usually Eric and I, when we see one another, it's on a box.
And I'm on the other side of the planet.
And he's here from Australia.
New Zealand. Close.
Close. But thank you so much. Avatar Way of Water is phenomenal.
Thank you.
And there's a lot of new technology to talk about. Performance capture underwater at VFX. Talk about how you managed that.
Well, I mean, it was all just such a big challenge, right? Like the big problem with cameras in general when you're shooting water is you get a lot of reflections. And when you're trying to capture with 70 cameras, you get a lot more reflections. So we had 70 cameras above the water, 70 cameras below the water. But the problem is, and they were all sort of linked together so we could get our performance, but you always get these weird reflections. Like if you go underwater and look up, you see it's like a mirror. So we went old school and we actually covered the water with ping pong balls to just break up the surface and allow us to shoot both above and below at the same time. So it's a really cheap solution for a big problem.
Interesting. I love that about the ping pong balls. Let's talk about James Cameron and working with him and what he said that he wanted this film to be from the first Avatar, how different he wanted it to be.
I mean, when we started talking about this the first time and reading the script, he really wanted this to be a family piece, right? He wanted it to be about the future. Jake and Neytiri, they're 10 years older. They have a family, they've grown kids, they've got all these bonds. So he really wanted it to be less about them and more about the family and the interaction between the mom, the dad, and all the kids, and just the family bonds. So that was his big goal for this movie, and obviously to see more of Pandora. I mean, we saw the jungles, we saw the sky, we saw a little bit in the first movie. And this movie, he wanted to explore somewhere completely different. And next movie, we'll go somewhere completely different again.
We're not allowed to ask a spoiler, so we'll just have to wait and see. But I mean, with the water capture, you had tanks like that, so that wasn't done on green screen. The actors were actually in the water.
Yeah, because I mean, when you get actors on a capture stage, right? A lot of times they'll act like they're on a stage. They will overact, and they will, when you ask them to swim, they will be sort of like this, and it never looks good. So Jim really wanted to make sure we got in the water and we actually captured everybody holding their breath and being in the water and actually moving and doing all the scenes in the water properly. I mean, Kate was able to hold her breath for 8 minutes underwater to do a scene, which is outstanding. I can do about 1.5 minutes, and that'll be it's my limit. And yeah, she was able to act all the way through and be underwater for 8 minutes, which was amazing to watch.
Yeah. And as you know, I love the Tulkun and the eyes. Like, there's so much. I've never like cried. If you've seen this film, if you saw it in 3D, like you were probably crying when the Tulkun says it's too painful. Like, I mean, talk about the influence for that and designing. Well,
it's hard, right? When you have a big wall with an eye and an eyebrow, and you have to get emotion out of it. You can never get two eyes, so you're dealing with one eye and trying to get emotion out of this character. So it takes a lot of work to get emotion out of an eyeball and a brow, and I think it really the way Jim shot his cameras and the way that he was able to interact with the other characters. I think Payakan was one of the most loved characters in the whole movie, and he really is just an eyeball and a big wall of a whale.
These soulful eyes. But what was the biggest challenge? Like, what sequence was the one that took a lot of work, a lot of hours?
I would, well, as a visual effects person, I have to say the water, right? But because technically that's a very hard process and hard to do. But it wasn't really. It was the characters. It was there's a great scene in the end of the movie. There's probably one or two people that haven't seen the movie, but so we won't give any spoilers. But at the end of the movie, it's all the characters out on the rock. And there's just this great emotional moment that we get from Zoe, and she's very over the top and very emotional, and Sam is very stoic, and he's another great performance, but it's more inside, and the kids are great all the way through, and it's just this. They gave this great performance on stage, and you see that and you understand we have to get that back through the CG characters and make you not feel like you're watching crappy CG characters and feel for them, right? And I think that's the big thing for me is the first time I saw it in the theater with a real audience. Not that Jim and those guys aren't real, but and you see audience members crying. And you see them laughing, and you see them jump out of their seat at the right time, which it just makes you feel like, okay, we must have done something right because we're getting the right emotion out of people.
Yeah. Amazing. Eric, thank you so much for your insight into Avatar: A Way of Water.